Okay, so today I'm going to be making okra stew. So in here at the moment, I've got some mushrooms, I've got some crabs, and I've put in a bit of water. Okay, so I've also got some onions and ginger. Yeah, I actually blended one onion. So I had one onion that I blended at the garden. But the amount of onions you use is just up to you. I've also got some peppers in here. I mean, because I'm not making that much of the stew, that's why I only have one onion. But if you were making more stew, then you add more onion to it. If you were going to add meat, like lamb or beef, you would put it in now at this stage. So you would dice them up and put it in at this stage. But I'm not going to use any beef. I'm going to use fresh fish. So with the fresh fish, you tend to add the fresh fish once the liquid in here has come to the boil, because if you add it before that, the fish will get too soft and it will just split. So it's best for the fish to be intact, to add it when the liquid starts to boil. Okay, and the amount of water that you add when you're blending the onion and the ginger is up to you. It just depends on the amount of stew you want to make. So the water is boiling now. So I'm just going to now add the fresh fish to it. I've got a variety of fresh fish. I've got mackerel. I've also got tilapia, but any kind of fish will do. And if you don't want to have any fish, that's fine as well. Okay, so I'm going to leave this now until the fish actually cooks. But you can now also add your spices, like your Maggi cube to it, or stock cube. I'm also going to put a bit of a bay leaf, because I like the smell of the bay leaves in there as well. So just leave it to cover until the fish is cooked. Okay, so what I have in here is I've got one onion that I have sliced up, and then I've also got some palm nut oil. This palm nut oil, what I did was when I made the palm nut soup, the oil that I scooped up from the top, that's what I'm using now to fry these onions. But if not, just get a little bit of the palm nut oil and fry it. If you don't have any palm nut oil, then you can use any kind of vegetable oil or olive oil. It's just to now help to fry the onions and give it a nice taste as well. And right now in the blender, I have a can of plum tomatoes, which is roughly 400 grams of plum tomatoes. I've also got the peppers that I had put in the stew mixture. So I'm taking it out and I'm now going to blend it. Okay, so the onions have softened a bit now, and so I'm going to add the pepper and tomato that I've just blended to it. And don't forget that you need to occasionally just stir the stew as well, so that it doesn't burn and that the fish or the meat doesn't stick to the bottom. Okay, in the blender, I've got a pound of okra here. I'm actually going to blend my okra, but some people don't actually slice the okra. I'm actually showing you the okra that I sliced. So it's up to you. You can either slice the okra and put it in the food, or you can blend it like how I'm doing mine. But I prefer mine blended. Yeah, and to ease the blending, just add a little bit of water. To it. So this is roughly like 450 mils of water that I have in it. But this is just to ease the blending. Okay, so the onions and tomatoes that I had in here, it's actually boiling now. The stew is boiling. So I'm going to now add it to the fish and crabs that I have in here. I do this just to enhance the flavor so the food tastes better. That's why we do this. Okay, so for those of you who are actually cooking with the okra that you've sliced up, then this is the stage that you add it to the stew. But because I've actually blended my okra, I have to use a separate pot. Like I've got the blended okra in here, because you have to stir this constantly and you don't want to now break up the meat. So that's why I'm putting this in a separate pot. But like I said, those of you that, if you want to use the sliced okra, you just add it to this stew mixture now. Just after you've added the tomatoes and onions to it. Okay, so I've got the okra here there's a blended okra in this bowl, and I'm just waiting for the okra to start to boil. So make sure that you actually stir this constantly so that the okra doesn't stick to the bottom and burn. You have to stir it constantly.
It's getting ready.
Okay, so what you notice is that when the okra starts to boil, it starts to rise. So at this stage, it's almost ready for us to transfer it to the other container. But just keep on stirring it. Okay, so the way that you know when it's time to transfer the okra is after, like I said, after it's bubbled right to the top and you stirred it constantly. When you stir it and it comes back down slightly, like now it's come back down slightly, it's time to transfer it to the stew. Okay, so what I'm doing now, just before I add the okra, boiled okra to the stew, I'm just removing the fresh fish from the stew because I'm going to be stirring this stew constantly, and if you have the fresh fish and you stir the fresh fish constantly, it all breaks up as well. So I'm just removing that and I'll add the okra to it. If you're cooking with meat, then that's fine, doesn't matter, but it's just the fresh fish. Like I'll be leaving the crabs in here because the crabs, it doesn't matter whether you stir crabs constantly. Okay, so I'm just adding the okra to the stew. And the way you know that the stew is ready is when you start getting a little bit of oil, that palm oil, just coming up slightly on the base of the soup, of the stew, sorry. So now we're going to reduce the temperature, so I'm putting it on middle heat, and then I'm just going to allow it to cook a bit further. Constantly stir it occasionally so it doesn't stick to the bottom, and until it's ready to be done. Okay, so the stew is actually all the same color, it's a uniform color now. That means the okra has mixed in well with the rest of the stew. So I've just added the fish back to it again. And I'm just going to wait till you start seeing a little bit of oil forming on the top. That's when the stew is done. Okay, so the stew is ready now. As you can see, the oil has come and settled on the top, like over there. You can see the oil. This stew is actually a reddish color. If you were to use the vegetable oil, then it would be more of a green color. The reason why it's red is because of the palm nut oil that we use. But yeah, so that's the okra stew done, and you can basically serve it with something that we call banku, which is made from corn dough and some cassava that they mix up together. So enjoy this. Yeah, so as you can see, I've got the okra stew here, and that's the banku, which I said is the cassava and corn dough mixture. You can also serve the okra stew with gari as well. Gari is cassava that you'd add with water and you'd eat hot water and you eat it that way. Yeah, so bon appetit.